How you can graduate debt-free and workforce-ready in just 1 year.
Here's the latest on Hurricane Irma. Stay tuned to NBC2 for more details.
Hurricane Irma moves closer to Florida.
If we leave, how long is it going to take us to get out?
Mandatory evacuations for parts of Lee County as thousands try to ride out the storm.
Nothing anywhere. None of the supermarkets have water.
The NBC2 First Alert Hurricane Tracking Team is here with updated information to help keep you safe. We are bringing you a special edition of NBC2 News at 7 o'clock before the football game. A Thursday night much different than normal in Southwest Florida. I'm Kelly Burns.
And I'm Peter Bush. We have the information you need about Hurricane Irma. You'll see a constant feed at the bottom of your screen. This is for things like evacuations and travel conditions. Our coverage starts with NBC2 Senior Chief Meteorologist Robert Van Winkle tracking the hurricane.
All right, here's what you need to know. Tonight, the advisory from 5 o'clock shows you that we're still dealing with an extremely powerful Category 5 hurricane. 175-mile-an-hour winds have gone very close, if not right over the Turks and Caicos in the southeastern Bahamas. Tonight, it continues on a trek to the northwest at about 16 miles per hour, which means it's just going to sail right here at a perfect meteorological spot for keeping this strength up around Cat 5, Cat 4 status. And by that, I mean the water's warm. The wind shear is light. There's no African dust around. All those things that go into play to make a hurricane maintain its strength are in play for Irma in the next 3 to 5 days. Now, the turn, which is the big deal for us, is supposed to happen, as you can see, Saturday afternoon into Sunday as the storm moves toward the Florida Keys and to Florida in general. And here's what you need to know tonight. The cone may be shifting a little bit back to the west. It shifted a little to the east earlier today. We are still solidly in the middle of the cone, and a landfalling or affecting strike of Irma on either coast is still in play. All right, you need to remember this. The preparations, all the hoopla, if you're asking yourself, what's all this about? It's because the Cat 4 hurricane is likely coming right into Florida on Sunday, and it could affect both coasts. All right, one side might get an effect greater than the other, but both sides of Florida are likely going to feel this. Look at what's going on out here. We have wave heights over 40 feet around the center of the storm, and now 15 to 17-foot waves are starting to move into the Bahamas. We're going to continue to have a threat of storm surge on both sides of the state, depending on where the main brunt of the storm goes. Still being steered. We're just running these models again, but here's the overall setup as you go through this evening. High pressure in the Atlantic, low pressure trough over the east coast. That's Irma. This is supposed to weaken a little bit over the next couple of days while the trough remains loosely oriented over the southeast. That pattern, those three things, trough, Irma, high pressure, should begin to interact to move the storm to the north. Where it happens is still up in the air, all right? So you can see this model says it happens and takes the storm off to the north. We're starting what I'm calling a latitude watch. As long as Irma is located south of us, we're still in the danger zone because Irma is at 20 degrees north latitude. These little lines here, those are the latitude lines. We're at about 26 degrees north. So this has to get about 6 degrees further north before it moves away from us, and then we start on the other side with some improving weather by Monday and Tuesday of next week. So remember that number, 26 degrees north. Get Irma north of that, and we're going to be on the downward side, or at least the getting better side. Forecasts, I've got two things to show you tonight. We've also ran these models again, and the numbers are still pretty impressive. By Saturday afternoon, 30, 40-mile-an-hour winds start. By Saturday night, could see 50-mile-an-hour winds. And as the storm goes up, somewhere on the center or east side of the state, maybe even on the west, we could see anywhere from 65-mile-an-hour winds over here to 100-mile-an-hour winds or greater over there. Now, just take in your mind and move this a little bit to the west, and you can see that these winds are not that far away. And this is by Sunday afternoon. It could shift still over more to our side of the state. None of this is being said to scare you. None of this is being said to excite you. But I want to make it clear we are saying this because this is a possibility, and these scenarios could indeed play out. Final thought, rain. I really don't want to see this either, but as you can see, there's a potential for several inches of rain through Tuesday. All right. Now let's talk with Rob Duns a little bit more. We've got a full team of meteorologists now 24/7 through next week with you. Here's Rob Duns.
You know, Robert, one of the biggest pieces of news to happen over the past 12 hours is that for the first time in Southwest Florida in a very long time, hurricane watches are now active in Collier, Hendry, and Glades counties. They also, of course, incorporate Palm Beach, Broward, Miami-Dade, and Monroe counties. So you're probably thinking to yourself, well, what does a hurricane watch mean? Well, what it means is that hurricane-force weather conditions are a possibility inside this shaded-in area. But it also means something very specific. A hurricane watch is issued 2 days before the expected start of tropical storm force winds, because once tropical storm force winds develop, it is too late to be putting up hurricane shutters and trying to bring in things from outside to make them not as projectiles during the actual advent of tropical storms and potentially hurricane force wind conditions over that particular area. Now, we also do not want to lose sight of the active weather that is happening right now in Lee County. The National Weather Service has a flood advisory for all of South Lee County because we have some very heavy downpours pushing through communities like Iona, McGregor, areas toward the Forum, also seeing some locally heavy rain, and then portions of northwest Cape Coral also getting slammed by some very heavy downpours. Everything you see right now in Lee County is very slowly moving toward the west. So as you can see, it's moving toward a South Cape, most especially to the south of Veterans Parkway. Here toward the north at Punta Gorda and Port Charlotte, the heaviest rain is to the south of you, but it is all moving toward the west, headed toward the Cape Cays Peninsula. In Collier County, some very heavy rain from Immokalee into Ave Maria. This too, like the rain in Lee County, is moving toward the west. We will see if it holds together, if it could bring us some rain toward North Naples and Naples. And the last check of radar takes us toward Lake Okeechobee, where conditions for the time being are fairly quiet. When Robert and I come back, we'll talk about the potential forecast here with Hurricane Irma, and we'll also break down 3 specific scenarios as to where the eye of this hurricane goes and what it means specifically for us in Southwest Florida. Back to you.
And look at what Irma has done to St. Martin. This is new video of the devastation. Irma hit the island with 185-mile-per-hour winds. At least 11 people have died. Dozens of others are injured.
There are mandatory evacuations going into effect tomorrow morning for parts of Lee County. That includes the Barrier Islands, Bonita Beach, Fort Myers Beach, Sanibel, Captiva, and Pine Island. Mobile and manufactured homes are also part of this mandatory evacuation. Tolls at the Midpoint Bridge, Cape Coral Bridge, and Sanibel Causeway are suspended. These shelters will open at 9 o'clock tomorrow morning. East Lee County High, Varsity Lakes Middle, Harns Marsh Middle, Oak Hammock Middle, Island Coast High, South Fort Myers High School, and the Acero Rec Center. NBC2's Nestor Mato is live on Sanibel with more on those mandatory evacuations. Nestor, they want to get these people off the island now.
You know, people here are preparing. Many people telling me they were going to evacuate whether it was mandatory or not. I want to show you the roadways on the way out of the island. Right now, it's not too busy, and that's because it's just hotel guests being asked to leave at this point. Now, some parts of the island, which are usually busy, we took a stroll, they look like a ghost town. The people here say that they're making final preps to their homes and their businesses to make sure it's secure. I spoke to one woman who was topping her car with gas before heading out to a hotel in Fort Myers. She says she spent the day putting her valuables in public storage after she lost everything in Superstorm Sandy.
I'm very nervous. I'm very nervous. This is my first hurricane of this magnitude. I pray, yes. I'm praying for my friends.
So a lot of people here taking that storm very seriously. Like we said, hotel guests being asked to leave right now. Tomorrow morning, residents will join them evacuating Sanibel. I'm on Sanibel Island live. Nestor Mato, NBC2.
Mandatory evacuations in Collier County have been announced as well. If you live in Goodland, Everglades City, or Chokoloskee, you should evacuate by 1 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. People in mobile homes are strongly encouraged to get out as well. Call your shelters right there on your screen. Immokalee High School, Immokalee Middle, Cypress Palm Middle, North Collier Regional Park, Gulf Coast High, Oak Ridge Middle, and Lely High School.
Let's take some live images from I-75 tonight in Lee County. our camera is frozen there, but you can see heavy traffic on I-75. This is just a short time ago. I-75 in Charlotte County, a lot of slowdowns in Southwest Florida. No reports of major accidents, though. A different story a little bit further north as you travel. This is video from earlier today on I-75 near Ocala. Traffic backed up as far as the eye can see. Construction in this area adding to the mess.
Hardware and grocery stores are packed across Southwest Florida. It's crunch time for people stocking up to ride out the storm, and NBC2's Trent Kelly is monitoring the madness.
Well, guys, just a couple of hours ago, this place was packed full of shoppers. Things have cleared out since then. Everyone trying to get their hands on some of the last pieces of plywood. You can see the shelves tonight are completely bare. I called at least a dozen or so other hardware stores across Lee County, all of them in the same predicament, leaving many shoppers feeling anxious and frustrated.
You got plywood, right?
Yes, sir.
Organized chaos.
Obviously, we need some more. Right.
As shoppers scramble to find supplies with time running out.
I thought there'd be wood. I thought there'd be propane. I thought there'd be water. There's nothing.
Michael Bay drove all the way to Fort Myers from Naples just to find plywood.
I just happened to drive here and saw somebody loading it in the parking lot. So I parked I parked, and I'm in here.
He's not alone. The line inside stretching clear across the store, one of the few places plywood can be found.
The most in-demand item, of course, is water. And we have already sold out of our water.
Many grocery stores also struggling to keep up with demand. Ada's in Fort Myers was expecting to receive another shipment of water this morning, but the truck never showed up. While water is scarce, Ada's still has plenty of bread, which is now being kept in their freezer.
I figured most people would go to the box stores and try to just take everything off the shelves.
Deanna Edmonds says she's found many items are still available at locally owned grocery stores, while the bigger chains are out.
I don't know why people are avoiding them. I don't know if they think it's going to be more expensive or not, but they're the ones that tend to still have everything.
Back here at Home Depot, you can see pretty much all that's left out here are these wooden beams. Managers here tell me they are expecting another shipment of plywood. Only problem is they have no idea when that will arrive. It could take as little as a day. It could take up to several days, meaning some of these shelves won't be restocked potentially until after the storm hits. We're in South Lee County tonight. Trent Kelly, NBC2.
The governor is promising no fuel shortages in Florida. He's giving fuel trucks a police escort. It's hit and miss with gas stations in Southwest Florida tonight. There is gas available in Lee County, but not at every station. We've seen several people filling up containers to take with them. A lot of them concerned about the shortage after the storm, or if they're evacuating, they're concerned they're not going to be able to find fuel along the interstate. NBC2 is committed to keeping you informed during this storm, on air and on social media. We're going to have expanded newscasts, new information with up-to-the-minute information about the storm track, evacuations, and damage.
You will also be able to get our news on local radio stations during the storm. All of these 11 radio stations will broadcast NBC2. So if you lose power or you can't get to a TV, just tune in to one of these stations.
All right, and the million-dollar question still remains, when will Irma make a turn to the north? It is still in the forecast. It is still centered on Florida, and both coasts are equally going to be affected by this, but one maybe a little more than the other. In any case, we still have to be prepared on both sides of Florida for the arrival of a major hurricane this weekend.
Do you see signs your home's value is dropping? If you have wall cracks, settling floors, a dirt crawl space, or uneven concrete, it's time to call N-Square.
Get foundation, concrete, and crawl space issues fixed right. Call N-Square.
People ask me, what's the difference between pest prevention and pest control? It's simple. Pest control involves applying pesticides inside and outside your home, whether needed or not. At Massey Services, we just don't do that. We focus on eliminating conditions outside your home to keep pests from getting inside. I believe in it so much, it's exactly what I do for my family.
That's Massey Services. Expect more and get it. If you've been in an accident with a semi-truck, let our crash team get started today. Don't delay. Evidence disappears. Morgan & Morgan, forthepeople.com.
Florida Leather Gallery believes in lounging and luxury. This Labor Day, we are offering 50% off showroom samples and closeout designs. Now is the time to get a deal on Deluxe, saving you hundreds. Plus, save $800 off the Stressless President's Chair, now $17.95, and receive a free closeout swivel table. Limited quantities available. So come on in and let our Lexperts guide you to the leather that's right for your lifestyle. We are saying goodbye to some of our favorites so you can say hello at all 6 Florida Leather Galleries.
The forecast continues to point Irma toward the northwest with 175-mile-per-hour winds, maybe coming back to 155-mile-per-hour winds, which is really an amazing thing since that's still a strong Category 4 hurricane. Even the turn to the north will likely not take too much punch out of Irma's sails. It is going to run into a little bit of wind shear out here, and as the turn takes place and interaction with Florida's land gets into play, it will weaken as it moves across from south to north. But as you can see, we're still clearly right in the middle of that cone of movement. And Rob is going to talk to you about the scenarios that could play out west, center, or east, or a combination of all of it. It's a big enough storm to where both sides of Florida should be affected, and it's going to be a real punchy storm, as you can see. The meteorology behind it remains high pressure in the Atlantic, should weaken a little bit at the approach of a trough out here to the north, and to the east of that high, you can see the high kind of losing a little bit of its isobaric presentation here, in other words weakening, and then allowing the storm to find the weakness between this and move up toward the north. Where that turn happens, though, as I said earlier, is the million-dollar question. I'll show you again the GFS American model. We have, of course, been running these every 6 hours. This one still favors a passage of the eye on the eastern side of the state. There are still other models that say it could be farther to the west, and the official forecast cone from the Hurricane Center even pushed the storm off to the west as well. So there's your outlook for 5 o'clock Sunday afternoon and into Monday as the storm moves north. Now, I want to point out also a Monday into Tuesday, we're going to end up with a pretty decent onshore wind. These are all isobars, and the steering flow and the surface flow is going to come out of the southwest for a couple of days after Irma passes by. So that means we will probably end up with some problems on the beaches with beach erosion, and certainly as Irma approaches, storm surge could get going on both sides of the state, probably a little more over here with the wind flow. But in any case, be aware, we won't be quite out of the woods as far as beach weather goes by Monday and Tuesday, because the wind is going to come onshore for a while. You can see that right here. Follow these moving arrows. This is wind direction, counterclockwise around a hurricane. Here comes a forecast for you Saturday night. Winds coming up to about 50 miles an hour, maybe as much as 60 to 80 on the other side of the state. Then as the brunt of the storm moves in, remember, this could be farther to the west, it could be farther to the east, but a guess, an estimate right now would be 60 to 70 mile an hour winds on Sunday and 100+ mile an hour winds over here. So we have the potential again, as everybody's been saying for the last couple of days, and especially today, of a very disastrous storm in some cases across the state. As you can see on Monday and into Tuesday, the storm pulls up, and there's that onshore wind that I was just telling you about. Also, we've been running this model, and it's been pretty persistent about predicting as much as 8 inches of rain, but that would be cumulative until Tuesday. And now let me leave you with a final look at the Atlantic Basin. There are 3 hurricanes in play. Katia is going that way. Irma's coming toward us, and this is Jose. Believe it or not, look at this tracker here. Jose is expected to become a major hurricane, and the problem with Jose is not going to be for us. It's going to be for the Leeward Islands again. It's possible that Jose could go very close to where Irma just went. St. Martin and the Virgin Islands are going to be threatened again with another hurricane just a week after Irma. That's pretty incredible. All right, so there you go. There's our cone of movement. There's our Atlantic overview. And we've even got rain falling right now, which is not from Irma, but it's still causing some problems here. Here's Rob Duns.
Yeah, let's talk about some specifics and offer you some context on the two most important dates to Southwest Florida when it comes to Hurricane Irma. The first most important date is what happens on Saturday, because Saturday is when the storm is going to start to turn toward the north. The second most important date for you to remember with Hurricane Irma is Sunday, and specifically Sunday afternoon, because that is the point in which every part of Southwest Florida falls within the confines here of the cone of movement. What this means is that the center of this hurricane could be as far to the west as in the Gulf of Mexico off the coast of Southwest Florida. It could be anywhere over top of the actual peninsula, or it could be way over here as far to the east as the Bahamas, well off the east coast beaches of Fort Lauderdale and Miami. So what could happen here if we take each of these scenarios into mind? The worst case scenario for our part of the state, Southwest Florida, is that if the hurricane favors the western side of the cone, and with this in mind, the eye of Hurricane Irma would be in the Gulf of Mexico. This would present a major storm surge risk to Southwest Florida, specifically Lee, Collier, and Charlotte counties, because the winds would be onshore for a long period of time. We would also see the brunt of the hurricane force winds and very significant rain should the eye of the hurricane get into the Gulf of Mexico. Let's pretend now that the hurricane takes the exact center path of the cone of movement from the National Hurricane Center. In that case, there is a much reduced risk of storm surge in Southwest Florida because the onshore winds will be focused more toward the Atlantic side of the state. We would still be under the influence of hurricane to tropical storm force wind and would still be under the gun for some areas of significant rainfall. The best case scenario for Southwest Florida is that the eye of the hurricane favors the eastern side of the cone of movement. With that in mind, it's the storm surge risk is only on the east coast of Florida and would be very low to non-existent in Southwest Florida. We would still have some gusty wind and we would still have some rain, but will be not nearly as significant as if the hurricane is to take the western side of the cone and move closer towards Southwest Florida. So again, when it comes to your forecast, we will see some afternoon storms tomorrow as you're trying to finalize your hurricane plans, but the worst of this system comes our direction this weekend, and as we've been talking about, most specifically Sunday morning and Sunday afternoon. The light at the end of the tunnel is right there on Tuesday. We finally see some drier air, but until that arrives, we've got a long way to go together. Back to you.
We've just learned the city of Cape Coral is actually suspending the sale of alcoholic beverages during Irma. The suspension does not include beer, and it begins when businesses close tomorrow. We will let you know when that suspension of alcohol is lifted.
Now, the pictures are worth 1,000 words with Irma. This one is from St. Martin in the Caribbean. Absolutely crushed. 95% of the homes on that island were wiped away. 1 million people on Puerto Rico have lost power. We'll be right back.
Weather in the morning. We don't just cover it, we own it. Need a plan to get you through the day? You've got it. Want an accurate forecast right down to your street? You've got it. Jason Dunning and First Alert Live Doppler Radar. Together, they're always watching. In fact, our Live Doppler Radar gave you an extra 18 minutes to prepare for a tornado. Now that's keeping you safe. So when it comes to weather in the morning, turn to the team that delivers and the forecast you can count on.
Not a chance. Never going to happen. No way. Take it to the bank. Wear it on your heart. Good Deals Appliances will never, ever, ever be undersold. That's my personal guarantee. Good Deals. Fort Myers, Cape Coral, Naples.
Inventory liquidation at American Freight. 3-piece bedrooms from only $198. Rocker recliners, buy one, get one free. Hurry in. Ends September 30th. At American Freight, 13080 Metro Parkway in Fort Myers.
Crowther Residential and Commercial Roofing up on top.
Car accidents, medical malpractice, wrongful death.
888 John King.
Get breaking news alerts wherever you are. Download the NBC2 News app today.
So maybe, someday, way into the future, somewhere, maybe even on another planet, someone will actually beat a Good Deals price. Yeah, right. Like that's ever going to happen. Good Deals. Fort Myers, Cape Coral, Naples.
Chances are, if you're watching us tonight, you're planning to ride out the storm. So let's look at some safe ways to try to do that. Secure your home with storm shutters or plywood, of course. Plywood hard to come by. Sandbags and generators. Prepare to lose power. And you need to have enough food to last a week and 1 gallon of water for each person each day. Check tonight to make sure you have all your prescriptions filled, proof of insurance, your driver's license, and most importantly, don't plan on going outside during the storm.
You also need to be aware that emergency services will stop once the winds get too intense. Police, fire, EMS, they will not come to help you once the winds sustain 40 to 45 miles per hour. That's tropical storm force. A delay in emergency response isn't unlikely. Southwest Florida has the potential to see hurricane force winds that's anything above 74 miles per hour.
Once the winds reach a sustained 40 miles an hour, we can no longer provide emergency services. So it's just not safe for our responders to go out and service those calls.
We do not send first responders out into those conditions because it's likely they're going to get in trouble.
The agencies won't be on the road, but they will continue to take emergency calls and prioritize the response as soon as the winds die down. Robert's back in 2 minutes with your final update on the storm before the game.
It's summer's last splash, and the big savings at Ashley Home Store's Labor Day event have just been extended. Jump into savings of up to 30% or get 60 months no interest, plus free shipping. Enjoy big savings on leather sofas and dining room sets, plus a $300 gift card on any in-store Tempur-Pedic or Beauty Rest Black Mattress purchase. Get 60 months no interest, plus free shipping at the #1 Tempur-Pedic retailer in North America. Ashley Home Store. This is home.
My father was a policeman. We were raised in a house filled with love and taught to respect others, work hard, and thank God for everything we had. My blue-collar upbringing has served me well over my 30 years as a trial lawyer. Good, honest, hard work is all I know. I'm Jim Kelleher. If you've been injured in an accident and you want justice, call me. It's what I do. Visit jimforjustice.com today or call me at 833-JIM-FOR-JUSTICE.
I love my Cornerstone kitchen, my cabinets, my appliances, my countertop. It's the kitchen I've always dreamed of, my dream kitchen. Come browse one of our showrooms and make your dream kitchen come true.
We can give you a new, beautiful kitchen or a full home remodel.
Visit our website and see what's cooking in my kitchen.
What is cooking, Grandma?
Come on, I'm starving.
Yeah, you're starving all right.
Cornerstone Builders of Southwest Florida, in business since 1988.
I'm attorney Matt Morgan. Last year, over 25,000 people injured on the job called our firm. We recovered tens of millions of dollars for these clients injured at work. Whether you can't work due to inflammation or muscle injury from lifting, or if you're injured suddenly from a slip, fall, or a machine. And even if the injury was your fault, you may be entitled to workers' compensation benefits. If you were injured on the job, call Morgan & Morgan, forthepeople.com.
All right, just to again give you a little reminder of the timeline, by the time we get to Friday afternoon, we're going to start to notice the wind picking up out of the northeast. By the time we get to Saturday morning, the hurricane will be much more prominent to the south of us, and we'll start to see the winds increase by Saturday afternoon into Sunday. So the time frame to get things done is still okay for tomorrow. You've got tomorrow before we start to see things go downhill starting late Saturday and all day Sunday.
And any live updates that are brought by the county, by the state, by the governor, anybody, we will bring them to you here on air and online.
We're here 24/7. The latest information, we will bring it to you ASAP.
Tell the difference between these two kitchens.